the previous video, I explained why I am opposed to this war in Iran. Continuing the discussion, what are the consequences we can already see? Consequences are not trivial. If you think it's a stupid war, maybe it's a stupid war, but the consequences will not be so irrelevant. First of all, okay, I'll get at the end to Russia, because somehow, call me paranoid, but everything Trump does ends up being good news for Russia. Anyway, at the end, let's start with Israel. Well, Israel is now a threat, a military threat to any country in the world. It is a military, almost superpower. It's a very powerful military, probably second only to the United States and China. In a war between Israel and Russia, I'm not sure who would win, given how badly Russia is doing in Ukraine, which is a lot weaker than Israel. Furthermore, we found out that Israel does not feel bound to any international rules. In my opinion, it is also a very weak ally of the West. If you look at the record, it's not so clear that Israel is an ally of the United States. It's the United States that is an ally of Israel. Europeans, I'm sure they're taking note. If Israel ever feels that it should take military action against a European country, France, Britain, Germany, it can, and we know that it will. It has no moral boundaries. Arab countries especially should beware. Israel has shown a little interest in avoiding civilian casualties. The evidence is that Israel doesn't hesitate to kill thousands of civilians if that also kills one enemy. So this highly militarized country is now a threat to all its neighbors, and of course I hope that my concerns are exaggerated. Number two, again, we said the same thing when Russia invaded Ukraine. Why North Korea gets away with its nuclear weapons and with its intercontinental ballistic missiles, both of which are very real, not just an imaginary threat, because it has nuclear weapons. So every country in the world must have seen what happens to regimes that don't have nuclear weapons. Saddam Hussein in Iraq, Gaddafi in Libya, Maduro in Venezuela, and now Khamenei in Iran. And Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons and was promptly invaded by its nuclear neighbor, Russia. Whether you are a democracy like Japan and South Korea, or a dictatorship like Myanmar and Saudi Arabia, the message is very clear. The message is, if you don't have nuclear weapons, international law, international treaties mean nothing. You are vulnerable. The message is certainly clear for Iran's leadership. If they retain power, they will have learned this lesson. And if they still have uranium, of course they will rush to build some kind of nuclear bomb. I mean, it doesn't have to be a perfect one to kill a lot of people. This war also tells the world how weak Russia is today. Indirectly, this is happening because Putin attacked Ukraine. His friend Assad was thrown out of Syria by a group of Islamists, and Putin couldn't protect him. And now his main ally, Iran, main ally in the Middle East, is being attacked and by Israel, and Russia is doing absolutely nothing to protect it. Russia can't even send weapons to Iran because it doesn't even have weapons to fight its own war in Ukraine. In fact, Russia at one point was buying drones from Iran. This war also has an impact on China. China was by far the main customer of Iranian oil China must be a little worried about what will happen to that supply. After Russia invaded Ukraine, we all thought that this was a win for China. Russia was going to become so dependent on China that China was now the bigger power in the relationship. But now it looks like China is becoming dependent on Russia's oil because Iran and the Middle East in general is no longer a reliable source of oil for China. China is trying to get rid of oil, so this is true only to some extent. The Chinese are smarter than the Americans. They are trying to get rid of oil once and forever. Another supply of oil for China was Venezuela. That's another regime more or less toppled by the USA. USA has left actually the regime in power, replacing an unfriendly dictator with a friendly one. Still, China must be realizing that these actions by the United States indirectly make its supply of oil unreliable without Russia. Anyway, then moving to back to Israel, it is a fact that Israel is enforcing a sort of Pax Israelana. There was the Pax Romana, where the Roman Empire would destroy anybody who causes any trouble in the European, North African, Middle Eastern area. And in fact, for 2 centuries, the citizens of Rome the city, didn't see any war. And now Israel de facto is creating this Pax Israelana. It has destroyed Hamas, it is destroying Hezbollah, it is bullying Syria, and of course all its neighbors are falling in line because they want to avoid trouble with this with this military power, also an economic power and technological power. We have to give them credit that they have of their achievements. The European Union, Britain and Turkey are more irrelevant than ever. I'm actually kind of surprised that Turkey didn't do anything. The region, Israel, Lebanon, Syria, even Saudi Arabia to a large extent, these were all part of the Ottoman region, of the Ottoman Empire. They became European colonies at the end of World War I, when the Ottoman Empire disintegrated. Colonies and protectorates, but Turkey has remained an influential player in the region. Well, apparently no more. This is a little bit of a mystery why Turkey is so quiet right now. And of course, Britain also is disappearing from that scene. Britain, after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Britain became the main power in the region, even exerting influence, a lot of influence on Iran until the Islamic Revolution of 1979. It's totally irrelevant right now. The regime, back to China, the regime changes in Venezuela and Iran show to the world how weak China is, and probably also to China itself. The United States could punish China anytime because it controls the financial world, the trade routes. And of course the United States is still part of the greatest alliances in the history of the world, with Europe in NATO, with the Middle East indirectly, with the Asian tigers again indirectly, and with Australia and partially India with some kind of treaty. So the United States can easily punish China. China is powerless to punish the United States for its actions. The United States can do literally anything in the world, and China doesn't have any financial or military, economic tools to punish the United States. It is a net exporter, therefore cannot punish the USA with the trade boycotts. In fact, the other way around. And its alliances are just pathetic. I mean, the only real alliance is with North Korea, and then there's one with Russia, which is purely opportunistic. Now, Ukraine. Ukraine here is the loser. The United States assembled this impressive armada, and this is shooting bombs and drones on Iran. That means the US is depleting its military arsenal. It's spending money. So this is all money and arms, and by the way, attention, that the United States is displacing from Ukraine towards Iran. Fortunately for the Ukrainian people, Ukraine has no oil. And if, unfortunately for the Ukrainian people, Russia is not a threat to Israel. So Israel doesn't care, and if Israel doesn't care, Trump doesn't care. Now, Europe, of course, was already greatly disturbed by Trump's imperial ambitions on Greenland. Now it is also apprehensive that this war will create chaos in Iran, like the previous regime changes engineered by the United States in Iraq, Libya, Syria. Europe is the one that had to pay for the millions of refugees caused by the collapse of Syria and for the civil war in Syria, in Libya. Europeans are the most affected after the Arabs for what happens in Iran. Russia, as usual, anything Trump does is a gift to Putin. Yeah, if you look carefully, there's no exception. Number one, NATO is weaker than ever. I mean, we have a NATO member, the United States, that started the war without consulting the other members of NATO. NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO members are members of an alliance that start moving when somebody is attacked. And the only time this happened was actually when the United States was the victim. When the United States was attacked in 2001 by terrorists who were coming from Afghanistan, then NATO members mobilized and helped the United States in Afghanistan. Probably Trump already knew that all the other members of NATO would be opposed, and so didn't ask. But from the point of view of NATO, the United States has become an unreliable and even dangerous partner. It's a liability in the NATO alliance. We keep hearing in the United States politicians calling for the United States to withdraw from NATO. It is increasingly the other way around. It's not NATO members from Canada to Spain who feel uncomfortable in a military alliance with this United States run by demented, incompetent leaders like rambling Donald Trump. Finally, the Arab dictators, they had become so friendly to the United States. Of course, there's a lot of corruption there. Saudi Arabia was the main sponsor of terrorism for a long time. I mean, it's the kind of terrorism that hits Christian Western countries, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and so on. The Arab countries probably are realizing how weak this friendship is. Meaning the United States asked them to provide military bases and diplomatic support and so on. But actually the United States didn't really protect them. It was incredibly easy for Iran to bomb their cities. It is now obvious that the United States never really sold them protection. The United States is very happy to sell them offensive weapons, all these military jets and rockets and whatever that can be used to strike at other Arab countries, at their neighbors. But they cannot defend themselves even from Iran. What does that mean? They can certainly not defend themselves from a potential attack by Israel or by the United States itself. The United States made sure that they cannot truly defend themselves. They are vulnerable to an attack from a more powerful country.